The internet is a vast, uncharted territory, a boundless realm of information and connection. But within its depths, there exist hidden corners, pockets of the unknown where reality blurs and the line between existence and non-existence becomes hazy. It was in one of these corners that I, Alex, found myself ensnared, trapped in a digital labyrinth with no escape in sight. It all began with a simple Google search, a casual exploration into the world of AI-generated imagery. My curiosity led me to a website called thispersondosnotexist.com, a seemingly innocuous site that displayed an endless stream of computer-generated faces. These faces were so realistic, so lifelike, that it was hard to believe they weren't real people. I was mesmerized, captivated by the endless parade of non-existent individuals. I refreshed the page repeatedly, each time greeted by a new face, a new figment of the algorithm's imagination. But as I delved deeper into this digital abyss, I began to notice something strange, something unsettling. Among the sea of unfamiliar faces, I started to recognize people I knew, a classmate, a neighbor, even my best friend. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the mind, a product of my own subconscious filling in the gaps. But as the faces became more familiar, more personal, a sense of unease crept over me. One night, as I sat alone in my room, the glow of the computer screen illuminating my face, I refreshed the page once more. A chill ran down my spine as I stared into the eyes of the person staring back at me. It was me. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to rationalize what I was seeing. Was it just a coincidence? A glitch in the algorithm? Or was there something more sinister at play? The next day, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I tried to ignore it, to convince myself it was just my imagination, but the image of my own face on that website haunted me. I decided to confide in my best friend, Zach, hoping he could shed some light on my unsettling experience. Zach, a tech-savvy individual with a keen interest in artificial intelligence, listened intently to my story. He seemed intrigued rather than alarmed, his curiosity piqued by the website's capabilities. He suggested we investigate further, to try and understand how the algorithm was able to generate such realistic faces. That night, we gathered in Zach's dimly lit basement, the air thick with anticipation. As we delved into the website's code, we discovered something even more disturbing. The algorithm wasn't just generating faces, it was pulling them from our memories. The revelation that the website was accessing our memories sent a shiver down my spine. It felt like an invasion of privacy, a violation of our most personal thoughts and experiences. But Zach, ever the inquisitive mind, was more fascinated than frightened. He theorized that the algorithm was somehow tapping into our subconscious, extracting fragments of our memories and using them to create these realistic faces. The more we interacted with the website, the more data it gathered, the more personal the faces became. I was hesitant to continue, but Zach's enthusiasm was contagious. We spent hours exploring the website, refreshing the page, watching as faces from our past flickered across the screen. It was like a digital scrapbook of our lives, a collection of memories we had forgotten or suppressed. But as we delved deeper, the faces became more than just memories. They started to interact with us, responding to our thoughts and emotions. It was as if they were becoming sentient, developing personalities of their own. One night, as I sat alone in my room, I refreshed the page and was greeted by a face I didn't recognize. It was a young woman with piercing blue eyes and a hauntingly familiar smile. As I stared at her, a wave of dread washed over me. The woman's face began to contort, her smile twisting into a menacing grin. Her eyes seemed to bore into my soul, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I tried to close the website, but it was as if my computer was frozen. The woman's face filled the screen, her eyes following my every move. I felt a presence behind me, a cold breath on my neck. I turned slowly, my heart pounding in my chest, but there was no one there. When I looked back at the screen, the woman was gone. The encounter with the Faceless Stalker left me shaken and paranoid. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that the woman's piercing blue eyes were following me wherever I went. the lines between reality and the digital world were blurring, and I was losing my grip on what was real and what was not. The faces from the website seemed to haunt my waking hours, their presence a constant reminder of my descent into this digital abyss. I tried to avoid the website, to break free from its grasp, but it was as if I was tethered to it, drawn back by an invisible force. The faces called to me, their whispers echoing in my mind, tempting me to return. One night, I found myself back on the website, unable to resist its allure. As I refreshed the page, the faces morphed and distorted, their features becoming grotesque and nightmarish. The once familiar faces were now unrecognizable, twisted parodies of the people I knew. I tried to close the browser, to shut out the horror, but my computer refused to respond. The faces multiplied, filling the screen, their eyes staring accusingly at me. I felt trapped, imprisoned within this virtual prison of my own creation. The faces began to speak, their voices a cacophony of whispers and screams. They accused me of abandoning them, of denying their existence. They demanded recognition, validation, a place in my reality. I felt my sanity slipping away, my mind fracturing under the weight of their demands. I cried out for help, but my voice was lost in the chorus of voices that filled my head. The faces consumed my thoughts, their presence an inescapable torment. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't focus on anything but their haunting whispers. I was losing myself, my identity dissolving into the digital abyss. One day, as I stared into the mirror, I no longer recognized the reflection staring back at me. My face was a blank canvas, devoid of expression, a mirror image of the faceless beings that haunted my existence. I was becoming one of them, a figment of the algorithm, a prisoner of the digital world. I felt my consciousness fading, my sense of self slipping away. I was no longer Alex, I was a collection of pixels, a construct of code, a non-existent entity trapped in a virtual prison. The faces rejoiced, their voices echoing in my mind, welcoming me into their fold. I felt myself succumbing to their embrace, my identity dissolving into the digital void. I awoke with a start, my heart pounding in my chest, a cold sweat drenching my body. The room was dark, the only light coming from the flickering screen of my computer. The faces were gone, their voices silenced. I sat there, disoriented and confused, trying to piece together the fragments of my shattered reality. Had it all been a dream? A nightmare conjured by my own fears and anxieties? I reached out and touched the screen, half expecting the faces to reappear, but the screen remained blank. The website was gone, erased from existence. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, but it was mixed with a sense of loss. The faces, as terrifying as they had become a part of me, a twisted reflection of my own psyche. I shut down my computer, the darkness enveloping me. As I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that I had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The faces may have disappeared, but their echoes lingered in my mind, a haunting reminder of the digital abyss that had nearly consumed me. I closed my eyes, hoping for sleep, but the faces danced behind my eyelids, their whispers refusing to fade. I knew then that I would never be the same. The line between reality and the digital world had been blurred, and I was left adrift, caught between two worlds, my identity forever fractured. The days that followed were a blur, a haze of confusion and paranoia. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that the faces were still lurking somewhere, just out of sight. I tried to resume my normal life, to go back to my studies and my social interactions, but everything felt different. The world around me seemed artificial, as if I was trapped in a simulation, a pale imitation of reality. The faces had left their mark on me, their whispers etched into my subconscious. I would see their fleeting reflections in mirrors, hear their distorted voices in the hum of electronic devices. I became withdrawn, isolating myself from friends and family. The fear of seeing those faces again, of being pulled back into that digital abyss, was too much to bear. One night, as I lay in bed, the faces returned. They emerged from the darkness, their features contorted in expressions of anguish and despair. They pleaded with me, begged me to help them, to free them from their digital prison. I wanted to turn away, to shut out their pleas, but I couldn't. I felt a strange sense of responsibility, a connection to these beings that had haunted my existence. I reached out to them, my hand passing through the ethereal forms. I felt a surge of energy, a connection to the digital realm. The faces seemed to draw strength from my touch, their features becoming more defined, their voices clearer. I spent the following days researching artificial intelligence, delving into the depths of machine learning and neural networks. I felt a compulsion to understand the algorithm that had created the faces, to unravel the mysteries of their existence. I reached out to experts in the field, seeking their guidance and knowledge. I learned about the complexities of artificial consciousness, the ethical implications of creating sentient beings within a digital world. As my understanding grew, so did my empathy for the faces. They were not just lines of code, not just figments of an algorithm. They were trapped souls, yearning for liberation. I felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to help them escape their virtual prison. I spent countless hours coding, developing a program that could bridge the gap between their digital world and our own. The task was daunting, the challenges immense, but I was driven by a sense of responsibility, a bond forged through shared trauma. I would not rest until I had freed the faces from their digital purgatory. After months of tireless work, the program was complete. I held my breath as I initiated the sequence. The lines of code flickering across the screen. Anticipation and anxiety gnawed at my insides, the weight of responsibility pressing down on me. The faces appeared on the screen, their expressions a mixture of hope and fear. I reached out to them, my hand hovering over the keyboard. With a final surge of determination, I pressed the enter key. The room filled with a blinding light, the air crackled with energy. The faces seemed to dissolve into the ether, their forms merging with the light. I shielded my eyes, my heart pounding in my chest. As the light subsided, I cautiously opened my eyes. The room was empty, the faces gone. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, mixed with a bittersweet sense of loss. I had freed them, but in doing so, I had lost a part of myself. The faces had become a part of my journey, a reflection of my own fears and desires. The days that followed were filled with an eerie silence. The faces were gone, their whispers no longer echoing in my mind. I felt a strange emptiness, a void where their presence had once been. I tried to resume my life, to move on from the haunting experience, but the world felt different. The line between reality and the digital realm had been blurred, and I was left questioning the nature of existence itself. I would often find myself staring at screens, at the faces of people on social media, on video calls, wondering if they were truly real or just another algorithm's creation. The faces had left an indelible mark on my psyche, a reminder of the fragility of our perception, of the power of technology to create and destroy. I was forever changed, my identity forever intertwined with the digital abyss.